welcome back to another episode of Ulandos Thinking Hole. This is another audio excerpt that was recorded quite a bit ago. It's just been a while since I've wanted to edit it, especially because I wasn't sure which game to put in the background because of the topic. But given that I just finished Ghost Runner, I think this is the perfect game to put in the background for a multitude of reasons. One obvious one including the amount of times you die in this, but there is also the ending and the whole overarching storyline of this game. It's a really good game. Get it when it's on sale. But hopefully I can fix up the audio, but this video is about death and what I think about it. Thank you so much to everyone who's currently subscribed to me on Patreon, Discord Nitro, and Twitch. Really appreciate it. Go grab yourself a cuppa, have a waffle, but today we're going to be discussing death. Hope you enjoy. That sounds so horrible. So death has always been an interesting subject to me. I treat it like a subject. It's probably because I'm not afraid of it. Whereas most people probably terrified of death. I can't really say until I've experienced a near-death experience, or I actually die, what I think death is. But the belief system that I've generated, I don't know if it aligns with any particular religion, but I believe death is, well, first of all, we call it death to signify the body just not moving and not responding anymore. It's the result of losing the identity within the body. Now, if you want to call that the soul, if you want to call that the essence of who you are, I'll call it the energy that defines who you are. Now, I feel like death is a lot similar to birth, and I don't really have anything to back me up in saying this. This is how I assume people who are religious nuts probably justify the horrible deeds they do. They're just like, it feels right, so I'm gonna do it. But I feel as though death is very similar to birth. You can't remember what happens before birth. Some people claim to, and those are usually stories of past lives, and that sort of brings in reincarnation. But my view on it is, before you're born, you can't imagine what being alive would be. So therefore, when you're alive, you can't imagine what being dead would be. So I apply a little bit of logic to my own belief to try and process it a little bit more. There are people on the internet who you can read for days on near-death experiences, the beliefs of so many different people, but I guess I'm not afraid to die because I see it as a transition. Whether or not that transition is good, per se, is up to time and, up to what it's pretty much, we'll find out, won't we? I was listening to this podcast, can't remember who it was, but he was saying we are so afraid of death because it symbolizes everything that we're going to lose within our identity. We have this, it's like we're all selfish in a way. We throughout our lives, we develop personality, relationships, our own identity. And when you die, there's every chance that all just dissipates completely. And I don't, as much as I don't want to believe that, it's probably a possibility. And that terrifies me. I don't want to forget about my wife. I don't want to forget about my friends. I don't want to forget about the person who I have spent years molding. But at the same time, that there's a possibility that can't happen. But really, what can you do? It's inevitable. Death is inevitable. So my way of looking at it is we just don't have the ability to understand as a species. Maybe someday, but for the moment, YOLO. Oh god. But yeah, let me know what your personal beliefs on death and what happens after death, or even what the process of existence is before birth, in a way, because I feel like that's very similar to what it's like after death. As I said before, if you weren't born, how would you know what it's like to be alive? And if you're not dead, how would you know what it's like to be dead? And also, this ties into everything as we see it as humans. Like, we signify the act of death as the stopping of the heart. I think throughout history, the definitions of death have changed over time. Can't remember exactly where it was. I think I learnt it in college somewhere. One of the lecture things. But essentially, as medical science has progressed, the act of dying has changed. But I can't remember on the spot right now, and this is sort of a video I want to do where I don't look up on Google or anything. I just want to put it out there as I feel, and I don't want to back it up with any, you know, sciencey stuff. Just the stuff I know, the stuff I believe, the stuff I feel's right. But essentially, medical science is always changing the definition of when you transition from alive to dead. So the actual act of being born, being alive, and being dead is a human construct in itself. So whether or not, I guess another way of putting it would be, it could be as simple as aging. You could age from -50 to +50. -50 being 50 years before you're born, plus positive 50 years after you're, quotation marks, dead. Perhaps the memory works in a certain way, and perhaps you live in a different way from the body that we know. Like, there are so many possibilities. It really fascinates me, but I can see why so many religions like to think there's something greater when you die, because it's that fear of losing who you are that I think drives a lot of people's fear of dying. And by having a belief system put in place, protecting your identity in your head, anticipating what's going to happen when you die, you just live a more happier life. So are those of us who question what happens after death the unlucky ones, I guess? I don't know. Or are we more susceptible to being able to change what happens after we die? I would really love to hear your opinions on this. Death doesn't frighten me anymore, because I've thought about it in depth for, honestly, since I was about 15 actually. I'm 26 now. Because I've suffered from mental illness, and quite obviously with quite a few mental illness and mental ailments, there will be symptoms of, you know, wanting to die because of how horrible it is. So I guess I've had the luxury of thinking of it for more time than other people, if you want to call it a luxury. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by it. Please, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.